Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone in today's class for the first intermediate grade. Our textbook is Super Gold 2 and today we will cover what can you do there, form, function and meaning. This lesson will be presented by me, teacher Mazen Al-Harbi, and the sign language by Mr. Saleh Al-Ujan. So let's begin. Our objectives for today's lesson, we hope that at the end of this lesson, you will be able to use gerunds after verbs and use infinitive verbs after verbs. So before we do this, let's make a quick revision on our last lesson. Last lesson, we had a writing lesson, and we have talked about how can we write an email similar to this. And we said that imagine that you are choosing a place in Saudi Arabia and you want to write down what are the things that people can do in that place. So write a similar email to this and try to use the parts of the email that we already explained. For example, you always start with a greeting and with the main idea. And we said with the main idea we should use words that can show order. Like for example, today and tomorrow. So these words can show the sequence of the things or the activities that you can do when you go there. And also, as in every email, you need to end it with a closing phrase like see you soon, write back to me, and so on. And also we have learned to try to fill this chart with, if we choose any resort that we can think of, so we try to fill in this chart by writing down the location of the resort and also what type is it. We have learned 3 types of the resorts or 3 types of different tourism, like for example cultural, environmental and holiday. And also we talked about the activities. What are the activities that you can do in such a resort, and also what you like about it. Talk about the place you like, whether if it's the scenery or it's the surface. So you can write a lot of things about the place you have chosen. Also, as a project, I ask you to design a brochure for a vacation resort presented to your class. So you can design a simpler poster or brochure like this one, and for the things that you have chosen, or you can use the chart you already wrote or you already filled to use it as in this brochure. Now, our lesson for today is gerunds. And what do we mean by gerunds are the words that ends with ing. And no, it's not the verb in present progressive. For example, gerunds are the ing form of a verb. They act like nouns and answer the question what. So we have learned in the previous semester that the words that ends with ing, those are the verbs in the present progressive. For example, when I say I am speaking now, it means that the word speaking, it means a verb that I'm actually doing right now. But gerund is something different. Here we use gerunds, they act like nouns and not like verbs. Let's see the examples here. The first one is, they spend their free time playing basketball. They spend their free time playing basketball. So here the verb is spend, not playing, the verb is spend. And what is the noun or the activity is playing basketball. And you see here playing ends with ing. The other example, he enjoys skateboarding. He enjoys skateboarding in the park. So here skateboarding is not a verb. The verb is enjoys, but skateboarding here is a noun and not a verb. And usually we use the nouns that ends with ing if we are talking about an activity. Like for example, playing, skateboarding, swimming, running. So any activities, we usually use ing for those activities, and we use them in a sentence as nouns, not as a verb. So we use gerunds after certain verbs and phrases. So not only this, but it's usually we usually use the gerunds after certain verbs. When we see those verbs and we want to talk about an activity, we use the gerunds. For example, can't stand. We usually, when we use can't stand this phrase, comes after it a gerund, a noun or a word that ends with ing. For example, I can't stand waiting. I feel like swimming. I love playing. I dislike playing basketball. I hate painting. I prefer running. So you see, those verbs, we use them we use them before gerund. So we use this verb and we use after them a gerund, an activity or a word that ends with ing. Here, for example, enjoy. I enjoy skateboarding. I like reading. I spend time watching or playing. So this is how can we use those verbs and phrases after or before a gerund. So again, a gerund is not a verb that ends with ing, no. A gerund is a noun, and that noun ends with ing. And when can we use it? We use it after these verbs. We use it after these verbs and phrases. Can't stand, dislike, enjoy, feel like, hate, like, love, prefer, and spend time. So let's make a couple of examples here. So the first one, I dislike, and here dislike is one of the verbs that comes before a gerund. For example, we can say, I dislike driving. I dislike driving. So here, dislike is a verb and driving is the gerund. The other one, I can't stand ice skating. I can't stand ice skating. It means that I don't like ice skating. So I can't stand, this is the verb, and ice skating is a gerund. I feel like swimming. I feel like swimming. So this phrase, feel like, we use it before a gerund. The last one, I often spend time reading. I often spend time reading. So here spend is a verb and reading is the gerund. So this is how can we use gerund. We use gerund as an activity, and we use them usually after these verbs, the verbs that I just showed you. And also, usually the activities and sports such as painting and swimming, often we use the ing form with. So we basically can say that gerund usually is an activity, either a mental activity or even a physical activity. Here we can have examples. Cooking, this is could be an activity, could be used as gerund. Ice skating, skiing, reading, climbing, running, hiking, cycling, and writing. So all of these are activities that we use them as gerunds. We use them as gerunds. Some of them are activities and some of them are sports. So we can use them as gerunds after the verbs that we have just showed you. The other part we have for today is the invenitives after verbs. So an invenitive is to plus the base form of a verb, the regular form of a verb. And like gerunds, we use the invenitives act like nouns and answer the question what. For example, here we have the verbs like, love, hate, and prefer. They can go either with a gerund or an infinitive. And how can we use an infinitive? We can see an example here. I like to watch TV, but I prefer to play games online. So here we can use the infinitive, which is to after verb, and also we use to after verb here. We can use them in a sentence after those four verbs. So here we have like, love, hate, and prefer. We can use them, and we use them before we are using the infinitive, and they as the gerund. They act as a noun, not a verb. They act as a noun. So here, for example, I like to watch. So watch here or to watch TV is not a verb. The verb is I like. To watch TV is a noun. Is a noun. We use them in this sentence as a noun. The same goes here. I prefer to play. So prefer here is a verb, and to play games is a noun. to play games act as a noun. So these four verbs like, love, hate, and prefer, we can use them either with gerunds and with infinitive. We can say, for example, I like watching TV, and we can say I like to watch TV. So we can use both of them for gerunds and for infinitives. So as we have with gerunds, here we have a certain verbs that when we use them, we use the infinitive after them. For example, this verb hate, love, want, like, prefer, and would like. So we use these verbs, and when we use them, we use after them the infinitive, to plus verb. Let's see examples here. I would like to play. I would like to play. And you remember last semester we talked about the difference between would like to and would like. So would like is the kind of verb that we can use before we are using the infinitive. And number two, I prefer to study. I prefer to study. So here prefer is a verb and to study is the infinitive. And the last one, I hate to wait. I hate to wait. So hate here is a verb and to wait is the infinitive. So again, we are using the infinitive the same as gerunds. We're using them after certain verbs and we are using them to act as nouns, not as verbs. So some verbs can be followed by either an infinitive or a gerund, and the meaning of the sentences with these verbs is almost the same as we have said before, that there are some verbs that we can use after them gerund and infinitive, and the meaning does not change. It remains the same. For example, I love reading books. I love reading books. So here we have the verb love. We use after it a gerund. Or we can say, I love to read books. I love to read books. So here also we have a verb love, and here we have the infinitive. So I love reading, I love to read, they are all the same meaning. They're both the same meaning. So we can, with some verbs, we can use both gerunds and infinitive. So I know that we have a lot of verbs here with the infinitives, the verbs that comes before the infinitives and the verbs that comes before gerund. I know they are a lot, but the only way we can master those verbs is by practice. The only way we can master those verbs without memorizing is to practice, to use these verbs. For example, to talk about what are the things that you hate, that you love, or that you want. And here with gerund, what are the things that you can't stand, or you feel like, or you enjoy. So when we are using those verbs a lot, and using the verbs that comes before gerunds and the verbs that comes before infinitive, we will learn them, and it'll happen by nature. We'll learn them by nature, and we'll see that we're going to practice or using those verbs naturally. So the verb here, one note that the verb prefer, we usually use it using to. For example, when we're talking about two actions or two activities. For example, I prefer reading to watching TV. It means that here I prefer reading more than I prefer watching TV. So this is the only scenario with the prefer, is to use to just to compare between two activities. I prefer chocolate ice cream to vanilla. So here again, you prefer chocolate ice cream more than you prefer vanilla. So this is a language note that you should consider. So now let's move on to our first exercise for today's lesson. So here I would like you to write the gerund or the infinitive of the verb in parentheses. So here we have 12 sentences. What I would like you to do is try to put the verb in its appropriate form. And be careful that sometimes the verbs can be written both in gerund and also in infinitive. So let's start with the first one. My family and I love go to beachside resort on a vacation every summer. So here we have the verb go. And what should we put the verb go? Is it with gerund or infinitive? Very good. So here we can use it either with gerund and infinitive. But why? Why didn't we choose only one form? Excellent, because the verb that comes before it is love. And we said that love is one of the verbs that we can use it both with gerund and infinitive. Now let's continue. We always stay in a comfortable apartment with a beautiful view. There are lots of fun activities to do at beachside. My dad and brothers enjoy playing, do water sports. So here we have the verb do. What should we put it, in a gerund or infinitive? Very good. We put it in a gerund. Why? Because enjoy is a kind of verb that comes after it, a gerund, not infinitive. Let's continue. They usually rent a boat. My dad and Ahmed spend the day playing fish. And here we want to talk about the activity. So, spend the day. So, spend is the kind of verb that comes before a gerund. Spend the day fishing. So, let's continue. Sometimes they catch enough fish for dinner. Hamid prefers plank, and this year he would like plank. So let's start with the first one. Hamid prefers, and here we have the verb snorkel. So what should we say? Very good. Either we can say snorkeling or to snorkel, because prefer is the kind of verb that we can use it with both gerund and infinitive. And this year he would like plank, try scuba diving. And would like is the kind of verb that comes before an infinitive. So the verb try would be to try. My mom can't stand plank sail. So can't stand, very good. Can't stand sailing, because sailing is a gerund and can't stand one of the verbs that comes before a gerund. So my mom can't stand sailing because she gets seasick. And I hate sit on the boat all day. So hate or I hate. What comes after hate? Excellent. Comes after hate, gerund and infinitive. So we prefer walk along the beach. And prefer, as we said, is the kind of verb that you use with gerunds and infinitive. In the evening, I help my mom cook dinner. We all love eat fresh fish and seafood. And love is the verb or the kind of verb that we can use with both gerund and infinitive. After dinner, my brothers like playing hike along the ecological trails. So here, my brothers like, very good. My brothers like hiking or to hike. So also like is what the kind of verb that we can use both with gerunds and infinitive. I clear the table and wash up the dishes because my parents want plank relax. So want is the kind of verb that we use with the infinitive, want to relax. On the balcony. Then I usually feel like read a good book. So feel like, this is a phrase, and we use that phrase with gerund. We feel like reading a good book. So this is how can we answer this question. Usually when you see a verb, just remember, if the verb is the kind of verb that we use for gerund or for infinitive, or we can use it with both. This is a very important. Now, the other exercise here we have, write about your likes and dislikes. Write about the things that you like and the things that you don't like, your dislikes. And use gerunds and infinitive in both. So here we have different verbs or phrases. Some of them we can use with them a gerund, and some of them we can use with them a infinitive. So let's make an example here. So for me, I like playing video games. I like playing video games. So here with like, I use a gerund. The second one, I would like to buy a new laptop. I would like to buy. So would like is the kind of verb that we use with infinitive. Number 3, I enjoy swimming in the summer. I enjoy swimming. Enjoy is a verb that we use with a gerund. I prefer to hang out with my friends. Number 5, I dislike watching TV. Number 6, I can't stand cooking. And number 7, I spend my free time reading books. So here we have the answers. You can write either the same answer or you have your answers of your own. So just think of the activities that you like and you don't like and write them down here. And now we have reached the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you next time.